that this isn't a time to sit back and relax and go, make an excuse that it's a pandemic, it's a recession, and no one's gonna blame you for not doing anything. Get off your ass and get to work. So back in March, people really began to feel the effects of coronavirus. And in April, we had the worst month in our company's history, losing 70% of our revenue overnight. And I had 3 staff members to look after at the time. Since April and taking that massive hit, 6 months later, I've grown the team to employ 8 people, and we've grown and hit numbers that we've never hit before. And that's because I really sat down and I gave some serious thought to my pandemic/recession proof business strategy, which I want to share with you today. Now, before I get into this video, you know the drill. I'm going to need you to hit that like button and I'm going to need you to subscribe. YouTube tells me, it literally tells me that there's 75% of you that are watching this content that aren't subscribed. It literally takes 2 seconds to hit that subscribe button and it makes a big difference, particularly to a small YouTube channel like mine. And if you hit that like button, it's also going to boost this video up and to get picked up by the YouTube algorithm so it can get out to more people. So if you do that, I'd really appreciate it. Now in this video, I'm not going to tell you what I think you should do or what I've read online or what I've read from a blog. This is what I did. I'm going to share my personal story, my thought process throughout this entire journey as a business owner, and what I'd advise to young people like yourself and what you can do to really not only survive this tough period, but thrive during it. So the first point of advice I'd have is you need to take some time to yourself. I remember when coronavirus really began to hit the scene, people weren't really paying attention and I went, okay, I remembered a very important line that I heard once, and that was, leaders don't react, they anticipate. So I couldn't just sit there and wait for coronavirus to take my business to zero. I had to think in advance and go, okay, what if this happens? How can I survive? What if this happens? What am I going to do in this case? And so I actually took 2-3 days off going into the office and I stayed at home and I began working at home on my coronavirus strategy. I literally took time out when everyone thought that coronavirus wasn't really going to be that big of a deal. I took 3 days out of my busy schedule being in the office to really sit at home, make phone calls to people who I trust, and study the situation and my business and see what I can do to survive this thing. So now let's go to a question I asked myself, which is more relevant to you as you're watching this. And that question was, which industries during this time will not only continue to operate and survive it, but will grow and prosper? And I began doing my research, and what I walked away with was 2 industries which I had experience already working in as far as clientele go. And there was actually a bunch of industries to choose from, you know, people who sell PPE masks, health providers, the list really goes on and on. But I chose to focus on industries which we had experience in that I knew would be the last to go if things got really bad. And this is before we went into even a stage 2 here in Victoria. Those 2 industries were e-commerce and construction. I figured that the construction industry would be the last industry to be affected by the pandemic rules and restrictions because there's so much money in construction and the government would never want to put a hold on construction. Now, moving into stage 4, construction has been affected, but that's why I had e-commerce as a backup plan. I knew that e-commerce businesses, aside from logistic issues they face, would continue to grow and prosper and even maybe thrive during this time because more people would be online to actually purchase products, and that's exactly what happened. As a result of that, my business was able to bounce back super strong. I was able to grow. So I guess the lesson in this is to pay attention to which industries are actually going to continue to grow or survive the pandemic. Get involved in those industries, whether it's getting a job in that industry or whether it's starting a business in that industry or whether you create a product or a service that actually appeals to these industries. Because like I mentioned to you, yes, there's been an enormous amount of industries that have suffered as a result of the pandemic, but there have been a few that have thrived. And if you want to survive this thing, you're going to have to get involved with where the money's going to. The next thing that came to my mind is, all right, I need to make myself pandemic and recession proof. I've got this business that's doing extremely well. And then I'm like, okay, now is not the time to put all my eggs in one basket. I need to start working on diversifying my income. Ultimately, what I want to encourage you to do is not to rely on the security of your job, not to rely on the security of your business. No matter how amazing of a gym operator you were, your business is shut down right now. During good times, we may not need to necessarily think about diversifying our income as much because we've got security. Who would have thought that our business would be forced to close down because of restrictions? Who would have thought that we would go through a recession so quickly because of a pandemic? But now that we're in these tough times, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. Yes, you need to focus your effort on your main cash cow, but you also need to diversify your income a little bit and begin working on other things. So if you have a job, try to start a business. If you've got a business, try to maybe start another side business or think of some other ideas. For me personally, I've got a course online. I can start a new product store overnight because of my agency. I've got YouTube, which I'm now starting to push. Now, it's not like YouTube's making me a whole bunch of money, but it could one day. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? As well as I'm doing in my business right now, it seems like nothing is guaranteed. So I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to diversify my income and to start doing things which I've been meaning to do for a long time, like even getting involved in property and paying attention to what may happen in the market and seeing if there's opportunities that I can take advantage of. Your mind needs to go beyond your job, beyond your current business. You need to start diversifying your income streams. The last thing I want to mention to you is you need to take whatever it is that you do, whatever product it is that you sell, whatever service it is that you provide, from a want/luxury into an absolute need or necessity. So that means you have to shift what you offer slightly. You have to do that because now is not a time for people to be buying wants and luxuries. That's why the luxury clothes market, like the Gucci stores and the Louis Vuitton, the luxury industry has taken such a massive hit during this time because even people with money are going to start making cuts to things that they don't absolutely need. So what it was for me is I went, okay, we've got SEO. SEO is incredibly important and I know it's a great long-term investment for businesses, but this is also somewhat of a want or a luxury because it's not going to give a business owner an immediate return. On the other hand, if I do Facebook ads and I provide that as a service, that's going to get my business owners immediate results, going to get them leads right away. That's going to solve an immediate issue. And it's not going to be a want, it's going to be an absolute necessity because business owners need leads. They need new jobs. They need to keep generating an income. And so now I have a service that's looked at as a necessity. Now, before I end this video, final message I'll leave you with is to remember that this isn't a time to sit back and relax and go, make an excuse that it's a pandemic, it's a recession, and no one's going to blame you for not doing anything. Get off your ass and get to work. Now is the time that you can get ahead of people because everyone else is doing that. Everyone else is treating this like a holiday. Personally, for me, I've got a family to look after. I'm not going to make the decision to fold, and you shouldn't either. Take advantage of this time. Work when everyone else is taking a break, and I promise you, you're going to reap your rewards later down the track. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Once again, if you haven't already, don't leave this video without hitting that thumbs up button and leaving a comment. Love you all. See you in the next one.